Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 36th Tokyo International Film Festival Asian Film Students Exchange Program Masterclass. So, I am taking part in the JF and TIFF lounge, and I am the program coordinator of Yamagata International Documentary Film Festival. My name is Tamaki Tsuchida. So I am one member of the JF and TIFF lounge committee, and what we wanted to do is to develop next generation talents that can create the future of Asian films, and that's why we decided to hold this masterclass. And I don't know if this will lead to something solid in the near future, but basically today we're going to hold this masterclass with director Kore-eda, and after that we will have a party together. What we would like to do is to have you exchange your views with people of the same generation that came from all over Asia. So let's start the masterclass. And in order for us to prepare for today's masterclass, Director Kore-eda and I spoke with each other, and what we decided to do is the following. He created a documentary film called When Cinema Reflects the Times, Ho Xiaoshen and Edward Yan. So we'd like to start off with showing a clip from that. All right, so let's play the video. Right. So I'd like to call onto stage Director Hirokazu Kore-eda. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause. Hello. So before we talk about that documentary film, Director Kore-eda, I believe that it's important that you understand where the audience came from. So when your school name is called out, please raise your hand. So those who came from Beijing Film Academy, please raise your hands. Thank you. Next, AFA. Asian Film Award Academy in Hong Kong. Who came from Hong Kong? ASEAN. Who came from ASEAN countries? I see, so you're all there in that section. And what about NIST? Who came from NIST? A Thai international school. And who came from Japanese universities and colleges? Okay, thank you. So today, we have audience from different parts of the country. Chinese translation will be provided by Shu-san, and then English translation will be provided by Ikezawa-san and another translator, Ebina-san, in the booth. And during this session, we are going to have some time for you to ask questions. So please don't hesitate to ask questions.
So it's been 30 years since 1993, Fuji TV. You produced that documentary for Fuji TV in 1980. Did you ever re-watch it? I never hardly rewatch the things that I make. But as you saw at the very beginning, it's better to see that and know about Edward Yang and Hao Xiaoshen rather than have me talk here. I think for future filmmakers, I think that would be much more beneficial. And well, we have the media here, so we shouldn't say this, but it's also on YouTube too. Oh, okay, that's not good. Okay. I think Fuji TV and TV Man Union will probably delete it. So tomorrow, so you may be able to see it tonight. Just to reflect on those days. I came to this world in 1987. It's 6 years after that that I created that film. And the reason why we showed that is because when I was, still wondering whether I should be doing TV or movie, a film. It was a program that I created when I was still wondering, what to do. And I thought maybe it might be great to just talk to you about what I was thinking in my 20s and 30s. And I wanted to create movies. That's why I came to this world. I was so busy, and so I was like mentally and physically, very fatigued. And every day I would wake up and I would think, oh, I shouldn't do this anymore. That was in my 20s. And then in the 90s, then so non-fix is a documentary slot for Fuji TV at 1 a.m. And I was able to work freely to do what I wanted. And that was when I was 28 years old. And I thought, okay, TV is interesting. And so I decided to continue to do TV, and I felt positive about it. But then it made me kind of like distance myself away from film. So I just felt like I was being torn apart. And then at the time, the TV Fuji TV producer spoke about Ho Xiaoshen's new film, and he asked me to film something that would be an interview that they can use for promotions. 。But I thought, okay, if I'm going to create something, it shouldn't just be an interview for promotions. I mean, I just thought it was a wasted opportunity. So I thought that we should feature another person, another great master in Taiwan, same age, Edward Yang. And so we interviewed him, and I wanted to interview him. And I said, let's do a program on both directors. And I said, I wanted to go to Taiwan to interview these two directors. It was a counter proposal from me. And we had a lot of budget at the time. And then we got approval to go abroad because we had a big budget back in those days.
And then this is more recent. Yes, I believe that this is 2019. I believe it was 2019. I visited Taiwan. This is Taipei. I looked at my father's birth certificate, and then I looked at the address that was on the birth certificate where he was born, and then it was in the Japanese district in Taipei. And then you can see that there are several Japanese-style housings that are still remaining in that district. And he wasn't really living in that particular house, but I know that he spent his childhood years here. I am not too much interested in my father's childhood years. It's not like I'm actively visiting these places, but when I go to Taiwan, I feel like I should go to these places that my father used to live. And then right next to this district is Kulingche. So I'm not trying to see that this is a turn of fate or anything, but where my father grew up, and then Ho Shaoshen's and his life, I feel like there's some connection there. So our relationship started in 1993, and then when I go to Cannes, I would see Mr. Edward Yang, and then we would greet each other. But with Mr. Ho Shaoshen, we were able to build this relationship for a long time, and he somehow always decides to call me up whenever he was in Tokyo. And then this photo is in Kimbasho, and then he received the lifetime award, and then
Lifetime Achievement Award.
so he received the Lifetime Achievement Award, and then I was invited to the award ceremony. So that's where we took this photo together. So I do understand fully that this is not a time for me to talk about my memories with Mr. Ho Xiaoshan, but there was news about him that came up yesterday, and I really wanted to talk about him. So please allow me to touch upon him. And then before I left Taiwan, this is what he said. He said, so what I'm thinking of about the future, what I want to do is to not stay just in Taiwan, but I want to gather young film directors from Hong Kong, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan. And it can be a 60 millimeter film, it can be a short film. I want to find a way to connect Asia, and then when I do this, I'm going to call you up. That's what he said, and I was so happy when he said that to me. I don't know why he invited me to take part in this project. At that time, I was getting pretty content about working for TV, and then he actually pulled me back to the world of films. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what he did for me. And so right around the time that I finished the coverage of them for this documentary film, I started to produce Maboroshi, and then I didn't have much experience or barely any experience as an assistant director. I just had one project that I did as an assistant director for a documentary that we did for TV. So I don't have a mentor. I do believe that Mr. Ho Xiaoshan is my mentor, my sole mentor. So I started to believe in that when I produced my films. And then I'm embarrassed to share these with you, but what you see on the screen is the memos that I jot down for Maboroshi. And, looking back at this, I can see how detailed these notes are, and I made a copy of this to share this with you today.
So I'm just copying Ho Xiaoshan. In my notes here. Oh, this is has the cuts for Renden Fujin. I just copied those different shots from the film, and I needed to do this at the time. It's kind of like a love letter, and Chen Minjan, who worked on the music score for Renden Fujin. I actually assigned him to work on my music score for my first movie, and I'm okay with saying it. And Renden Fujin is Dust in the Wind, and so I had Hosan look at my film. I think when he came to the Tokyo International Film Festival. And I didn't think he'll compliment me. I wanted to report, give him that report because he referred me to the music composer. And what he said in the beginning when he saw my film was that the technique is great. But he said, you probably wrote the whole storyboard before filming it, right? And I said, yes, I did. I wrote storyboards for each shot and I even colored them. And then he said, why, I mean, how can you know all these things before even seeing how the actors are going to act? And he said, you are a documentary director, you should know those things. I mean, he didn't say it in a very severe way, but that's how I interpret the message. And that experience was kind of like a big like homework for me. That was like a challenge to me, because people complimented, people criticized my film, but I only knew what I had done wrong, and I had to go beyond that. And that was my challenge in my second, third, fourth film. And so writing a storyboard, doing a blueprint, I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, it's better to prepare as much as you can, but when you're down by those things, then you may miss out on whatever interesting thing is occurring in front of you, and or it's kind of like you're kind of like missing out on that opportunity there, because you're supposed to be involved in that, because the solution is not in your perception or your imagination, your image. I think that's what Ho-san was trying to tell me. And I'm not even sure if I'm understanding that. I mean, maybe I think I am. And in 2009, I shot a film called Air Doll, and with Lee Pimping, and so here on the guy at the very right. So I asked this guy Lee-san, and then with Peduna, was going to come tomorrow, but it's a very unique film. Maybe you haven't seen it, but when we shot Air Doll, um, I created a blueprint thinking, and then the storyboard thinking I'll throw it away anyway, because I wasn't going to be able to communicate with Lee-san, and I gave it to Lee-san, and Lee-san said, I want to see the acting first and say, okay, this is the camera position after that, and we'll put the rails here, and then once if this person moves this and that way, then you can do it in one cut. So we started talking about these things after seeing Peduna's acting. That was the first day, and looking back on that Hosan style, I think he was trying to tell me Hosan style, and that experience was a really really great experience for me. So when so my way of like expressions, I don't think that I'm there yet. I think it's still going to change. But the guy on the left, Ho-san, disassembled my way of thinking. Lee-san assembled it once again for me. And so the station behind us is a station that appears in Dust in the Wind several times. And I think that it's a very dramatic, moving landscape here. And we were able to visit this place, the three of us together. I'm sorry, I'm just telling you my memory, my personal memory here, but this is, I mean, it was a long journey to come here. I mean, this isn't my goal, but this was kind of like a very strong milestone for me. I'm so yeah, it was a very strong experience for me to visit there.
May I share another memory of mine? I need to talk about movie directing, right? But so this is 3 years ago, 2020. This has been announced already, so I think I'm allowed to say this. So he was starting to he was starting to have symptoms of dementia. And then he was able to clearly remember about old films. But when it comes to everyday conversation, he will talk about the same thing over and over again. And then his staff, including his son who came to this short trip with us, the son also said that it may be difficult. It might be difficult for him to create a film. But when we went to Dust in the Wind, when we went to a location for City of Sadness, there was a mailbox, a mail post, and then he said Chan Chin will throw in a letter, and then Mr. Lee said, "Okay, so I'm good. I'm going to put the rail here and then start filming from this position." I don't know how much of that was said in an amusing way as a joke, but all of a sudden his expression changed when he said that. He turned into a movie director. So I was hoping to be able to create a film with him somehow. So that's what I felt 3 years ago when I was traveling with him in Taiwan. I don't think this can be realized now, but that's what I was feeling. It's been 30 years since I first met him, and in the beginning of our relationship, he mentioned that he wanted to gather all the Asian directors together. This has not taken place yet, but I am talking about this to you now, and I am conveying his message to aspiring movie directors in Asia. So I believe that mentally, the message that I received from Mr. Ho Xiaoshin is being connected to you now. I'm trying to summarize my message here. So going back to the topic of films, so of course you can aspire to someone and then you start to imitate what they do. I believe that everything starts from that. But it cannot be a copy or imitation for imitation's sake. Your struggles are your struggles only belong to you, and it's important that you communicate about that. But just because the students here watch his films, it doesn't mean that they can be like you. And the path that you have taken and your seeds of films, I believe that they are already there inside you. And when you go home, and if you have a chance, please do watch this documentary. So actually, throughout the program, he just smokes and waits for the wind and the light to come, the right wind and the right light to come. And then he was just shooting commercials. And then director Kore-eda was shooting Mr. Ho Xiang, waiting for the wind and the light. And then Mr. Edwan Yan, when he was filming Confusion, Confusion, he was using a whiteboard to really briskly explain to his crew what to do, and then he would give instructions. So these are very contrasting two figures, and their styles are very different too. It doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. I think there is a style that fits to you. And what I'd like to ask you, Director Kore-eda, is that so Mr. Lee joined your crew as a DOP, and there were many things that you learned from Mr. Lee, and now you're not just inviting people like Mr. Lee to Japan. You're flying over to France, and you're working with Catherine Deneuve, and then you work with Eric Devoche, who is a DOP in France. And then after that film, you worked with a Korean crew in Korea. You don't have a fixed crew. You change your crew members. Is that something intentional?
So it's not like I get tired of the same stuff, but I guess I get tired of myself. So, so, so you want to do some? You're always thinking you want to do something that you've never really done. Well, there's all kinds of motivations for me, but doing something that I've never done, yeah, I guess so. I'm not really sure though. Oh, maybe that wasn't a good question for you. Well, just to change this question a little bit. So I have been talking with Kore-eda-san, two of us talking in front of students like you before. And a lot of the questions, some common questions would be, because Kore-eda-san started with documentaries, and now until now, he's worked on, Monster, and he's, featured all kinds of like societal issues, and there's a lot of questions on that. So, about that. So I guess maybe you're tired of that question. Yes. I. You should tell them then. Okay. So in terms of what kind of topics, themes you choose, I think you probably have several ideas in your pocket or in your head all the time, right? Um, this is, I guess, sounds like a TV person, but when I was working as a director for TV, I would bring different proposals, all kinds of proposals to different TV stations, and I would start working on the ones that got green lighted because that was the only way to work. And so if I bring three proposals, and if I have one proposal that I really like, and maybe the other two are just some things that I may want to do, but usually the one that I wanted to do did not get green lighted. But not all the time. I guess as I started to work, I found out how to get those things green lighted. Like they would be themes or topics that maybe the TV stations, like I would be able to understand what the TV stations wanted to do, and then I started to understand that, and then so maybe some things is not really my style, or maybe so it's so from experience I learned that I shouldn't just do the things that I want to do or that I'm good at. It should be the opposite too. And the reason why I utilize like societal issues as a motif, if I get the question, I mean, it's not, it's like, I don't hate the, question, like, why was I, interested in like the baby broker? Why was I interested in people, getting the wrong baby? It's just that in Japan, like people call me a societal, director. Like I like to, feature societal issues. Actually, I don't like to be grouped or segmented in that kind of territory as a director. So when I'm creating a film, like I would think, okay, this can be like, it's not like I'm saying this will be the social activism type of film, or this is not going to be that type. And so we have shoplifters, and then you know one is social activism, and another may not be, but it's just the different families in different places. So the compass, it might take place in the city. If it's just in the home, it would be about a family. Or do we have another a person outside of the family in the film? But so baby broker, in the bus, people, like, it can be about the people that are in the bus. And so it really depends on the scale of who I am featuring in each film. So that's why for shoplifters and like Father Like Son, it's different. And so I just don't like to be categorized that way, though. So, we just spoke about which ideas you would, choose, etc. But if we keep, talking about that, we will just keep talking about that, and the people from the TIFF, they might, not like it. So that's why I would like to have anybody in the audience have any questions. You can ask the director. But if we go like one person each, can we try and get like maybe 5 questions from each group? And then we can just answer for every 5 of those questions. And then Kore-eda-san and I can figure out how we can, deal with the rest of the session.
Could you raise your hand if you have a question? So thank you. So there's two people raising their hands. So maybe we can start from the person in the middle. Please count those who have raised their hands. Please tell me which school you belong to and your name. Hello, my name is Hillary. I came from Hong Kong. I'm a student from Hong Kong. So before I ask my question, I wanted to comment on the latest film, Monster. I love the ending of it. So the two boys will reach to the bridge. And in Japan, I heard that bridge symbolizes many things. You can go beyond to another dimension. So I wonder what kind of a world lies beyond that bridge. And I believe that the viewers are able to imagine that. And I think it was a beautiful film, Monster. I'd like to now ask a question. Mr. Ho Xiaoshen, it's probably unlikely to create another new film. How do you feel when you learned this? And also, what sort of a presence is Mr. Ho Xiaoshen for you? So I would like to ask that. we'd like to answer that later. So let's accept 4 more questions. So who was the first person who raised the hand? The person in the back, and then over there. Could you give the mic to them, please? Hello, Director Kore-eda. A couple of days ago, we met at Toho Studio. My name is Za'ai, and I came from Beijing Film Academy. I like Nobody Knows and Shoplifters. In both of the films, I believe that there are elements that are inspired from documentary style. And I believe that in many of your films, you understand accurately the minds of children. How do you understand the minds and the psychological status of children like that? That's my first question. And my second question is that I need to shoot my own film as a graduation piece. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to make a documentary of old people, my grandparents. And I believe that throughout your career, you have shot many documentary films. Any advice on how to shoot a documentary? Thank you for your question. So let's take a couple of more questions. So the one in the middle, please.
Hello, Mr. Kore-eda.
Thank you. Let's take one more. I'm sorry, I do see a lot of people raising their hands, but we can only take one more question. Hello.
Okay, thank you. So we have a bunch of different kinds of questions here. And so how long are you going to be in filming industry? I've never thought of it. Well, the I still have like 10 ideas that I want to film, but I haven't been able to film yet. So, like, if it's a 1 year, one film, how long is it going to take? And it's like, I can't just stop now. And so, like, maybe it's not just in Japan. Maybe you might be interested in filming a film outside of Japan. Yes. And I've always been saying this, but in Manchuria, during the war, I was have been trying to get this idea for spent like 15 years on this, but I'm just trying to get this idea to go through. And why do you want to go outside of Japan? Because there's maybe no other Japanese doing these things. Okay. Well, if there is a chance, opportunity, I would like to. I mean, wouldn't anybody want to do that too? I mean, it's an opportunity, right? And if I can make it come true, then Korea, China, Japan, we can get cast from all three countries, and it might be a really big scale proposal idea. And but it's not practice for me to do whatever I did in France or in Korea though. So if it's an international collaboration, if it's like a story during the war, big budget, I mean, I can't do it, suddenly. I can't. And it's been 15 years that I'm trying to, it's like I'm training. I have to think of it as training, to get the idea through in 15 years. And also, I like, I don't know how to say this, but I like to see like celebrities, and I like popular things. We call it miha in Japanese. Maybe that's not the right word, but before I came here, I was just said hello to Tony Leon, and I saw him smile, and you want to film him, right? So So I guess some people asked the same kind of question before, but um, so in choosing an actor, I think Kore-eda-san, I think you always receive a question about how you choose an actor, and so whether it's Ayase Haruka or Ando Sakura, you're not choosing them by the names. You might want to autograph from Tony Lin because you might like him, but And you said that his smile is good, right? And you felt that that was good, and that's very detailed, and I think that's very like you. And so whether it's Ayase Haruka or Sakura Ando, um, well, it wouldn't just be a great film just because it's at Ase Haruka. Maybe there's some things that you like about Ase Haruka, and maybe there are some things that you like about Sakura Ando. I think it's very detailed, right, when you're choosing an actor. Yes.
就是说很多问题都会问到您在拍电影的时候怎么样去挑选这个演员这个问题。刚才我们说问到这个阿亚塞哈尔还有这个安藤樱这两位女演员，刚才你也说你去见梁朝伟，因为喜欢他，你不是说要想去得到他的签名还是怎么样？因为你可能觉得他的笑容特别的美好啊，所以你是说很想喜欢他，跟他打个招呼嘛？
And of course, we'll start with an audition and see these people for the first time. Or sometimes we might just offer a part to somebody that we know already. With Ayase-san and Ando-san, it was, well, for Ayase-san, I was did not have a part for her yet, but I met her and I talked to her, and I felt like rather than seeing her on film, I thought that it's hard to say this, but she seemed to be a more substantial person because she's seen as kind of like an airhead, and I and she um can seems like the type of girl who her grandmother really took care of. And I was like, oh, if it's this type of girl, then maybe for she would be good for the older sister of our little sister, Umimachi Diary. For Sakura Ando, this isn't just about Ando-san. I was going to say this before, but what's really important with an actor is like when Kenji Mizoguchi, he always told his actors, are you reflecting yourself? And he's famous for that line, meaning that like going back to Ho Shansan, he was very focused on the wind, the sound, the other person. So meaning, how responsive can you be to the other person? How responsive can you be, and how can you create your response to the other person? And how much reaction can you provide to the other person? So can you really listen to the other person? Like, can you really listen more than using your mouth? Like, can you really? It's not just about delivering a line. So there is an actor that can do that, and there are actors that cannot do that. And I would choose actors that are able to do that. And Sakura Ando is very superior at doing that.
在挑选演员的时候，当然在拍摄之前会有一个面试吧。那在面试的时候呢，一般我都会先看一下对方演过一些什么戏啊，拍过一些什么样的电影啊，看了他们的作品以后，我才会叫他们来进行面试。当然，有的时候也会没有看过他们的作品，也就邀请这个演员来进行面试啊。那我记得当时我们在拍这个《海街日记》的时候呢，我们先。 是把他所用五感所感受到、吸收到的东西。
Speaking of how to do directing of children, I don't really treat them that differently from adults. So these two child actors from Monster, let's park them aside. But up until that point, whether it be Nobody Knows or Shoplifters, the children that appeared in those films, these children have their own personality, their own vocabulary, and their emotional movements. And then I overlaid these to the roles, to the characters, as if they're there, not in their character, but as who they are. So, of course, they are acting, but I am not letting them say lines that don't belong to their vocabulary. So I, on a daily basis, do go through this process of rewriting the characters based on the children that I'm working with. For Monster, they already had a good career as child actors, so I treated them as if they're grown-ups. So I said, pay attention to what the other person is saying, listen, and your heart doesn't belong just here. Your heart could be everywhere in your body. So keep that in mind as you move your body. That's what I said from the very beginning when we auditioned them. And they were able to really address that. And even grown-ups, not many grown-ups are able to do that. So these are very excellent actors, I must say. And then children, you have to adapt to them. You can't say, adapt to me. They have their own character, their abilities, their own ability and capabilities. And of course, I want them to grow as they participate in my projects, but I must make sure that I work with them side by side and adapt to them. So with respect to the future of Asian films, I don't have a generic point of view on that. I don't know if I'll be able to answer that accurately for you, but with that said, going back to what I talked about, Mr. Ho Xiaoshen, I also want to create something that can turn out to be a collaboration work between different Asian countries. And then when you start working in this industry, I am hoping to see more collaborations like that, especially for Japanese films. We lag behind on such collaborations. So I hope that you pave your way as a new generation for this. As for myself, well, in the TV program that I just showed, Mr. Ho Xiaoshen said, through films, I want to ask this question: who are Chinese? What are we? He said that in my TV program. And then this is another contrast that we saw between the two directors. And when I was interviewing Mr. Edward Wang, our interpreter couldn't make it because he got sick. And so what I did was to have him ask questions in my broken English, and then he would answer in English. And I asked what sort of films he wanted to create. And then he said action films, suspenseful films, and thrillers films. So he basically gave me 3 different genres of films, and that was a very contrasting comment between the two directors. So through filmmaking, one wanted to learn about what filmmaking is. And then when you look at the Japanese history, and I'm not speaking just about Japan as we know it now, we can go back in time and look at the Japanese people. How were Japanese people like back then, and how are they going to be in the future? And what are the things that have not been portrayed in films? So I am a child of a father who has his roots in Taiwan. And how should I continue to create films with that in mind? So that's what I want to think about in the next 10 years of my filmmaking.
I think we're past our time, so we'd like to conclude this session. I know that we have several questions from all of you, and it might seem like Kore-eda-san's answering them one by one, and it might also feel like there's a commonality among the answers and there. So I hope that you all would understand that.
不好意思，我们开这道题目之前，对讲座刚才有提到很多问题，但是当中可能讲述可能来回答了你们不同的提问。但是其中呢，我们可以发现它是一个很好的共同之处的，或者我希望在这个讲座结束里，大家可以发现它，
And for me, what Director Kore-eda learned from Ho Xiaoshen, I think you asked about actors and the methods and how to, treat children. I think, there's a commonality there. And also there's a question about Asian film, the future of Asian film. And so I think, there are some commonalities there too, because he was a documentary director before, and whether it's documentary or fiction, though, you should always try and understand, what's right in front of you, and think about that. So there isn't. I don't think that he has a different attitude towards whether it's documentary or whether it's film. So that's the impression that I got. And whether it's documentary or whether it's fiction, there isn't much of a big difference there. And unless you have predictive abilities or unless you have a lot of money, when you go in the set, the director imagine, or whatever the image had, whatever the director had imagined is going to be completely overturned, and then he'll probably panic and think, "What am I going to do?" And because this, like for example, weather, something that you cannot control, or maybe the space is too small, or maybe the actors, like their skills are not what you expected, or maybe the other person is not giving you the right answer that you expected. So when you're encountering all these kinds of different situations, of course, I need to, lean on my staff members, but I also think that is the job of a director. And if I'm not really sure if the other directors are the same, but I talked about the responsiveness of the actor and the presence, the listening skills of the actor are very important. And I think that can apply to the director as well. I think that if it's like a very charismatic director. I mean, I'm not a charismatic director, but I have to listen to the staff and the cast members and come up with the most optimal, choice. And so I just have to control the situation based on the responses that I get. And I think that is my job as a director. And that I'm actually having fun with these days. And so I'd like to maybe try and work as director for the next 10 or 20 years. So that is my summary.
也许其他的导演他可能不会像我这样去说、这样去做，我不知道啊。但是我自己就是觉得这样是一个做导演的一个方法。那也就是说，我刚才讲了，我们对演员往往是会有很多要求，就是说，你要聆听对方的这个台词、对方的演技，然后吸收了以后呢，把它们反映到您自己的这个表演里面啊。其实我觉得，对我们做导演的来说也是一样的，因为在现场你要。
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. And so I think that one of the learnings from today is, for you to think about, responsiveness and understanding of the
听了今天的这个
person.
讲座以后呢，也可以领悟到，就是说您是怎么样看待您眼前的人，听他的说话，然后怎么样。
With that, we ran over time. We'd like to conclude the masterclass with director Kore-eda. I'd like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to TIFF and Japan Foundation and the interpreters.
那因为我们超时了，所以我们就要做的都。
So let's close with a big round of applause.